All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD1000 Web Development Technologies course, I've been creating a series of video presentations that are based on one of the textbooks for the class, that textbook being Murox JavaScript and jQuery 4th edition. And so far I've done everything in section 1 and everything in section 3 of the book. And from section 2, the only thing I had not done was chapter 11. So I'm going to do it now. That'll get us through the first 16 chapters of the book. This particular section or chapter, as you can see, is on how to use jQuery plugins and UI widgets. And I'm going to start this a little bit differently. And then I went back out to the jQuery website. And again, you remember that the title of this is Plugins and UI Widgets, or how to use plugins and UI widgets. Well, one thing is, if you go out here on the jQuery homepage, jQuery.com, you'll notice that there is a thing for plugins. And it's the jQuery plugin registry. All right, I've also got it up here. But the point is, if I start adding these, 542, that's about 1,000, 1,300, 1,600, 1,800, 2,000, 21, 2,200, 2,400, 2,600, etc. So there's between 2,000 and 3,000 free plugins that are right here. All right, and these are just the ones that are mentioned here. These are just, this says popular tags. Now I'm not sure what this means, where it says the plugin registry is in read-only mode, new plugin releases will not be processed. It says we recommend moving to NPM jQuery plugin. All right, so I'll let you take a look at that yourselves if you're interested. The point is, these are just free ones right here. So there's 2,000 to 3,000 right there. There are others that are out there that are free, others that are out there that are paid for. So what is a plugin? It's basically something that you can add or plug in to a program to use it to make it do something it otherwise couldn't or wouldn't do. All right. The other thing I wanted to show you real quickly as we get started here, and I couldn't find a link to it from right here, but I went up here to where it said support. And underneath that, I saw this thing that said Learning Center. I'd never clicked this before, so I did here. And you'll notice it's a jQuery how-to. All right. And one of the ones that's in here is using jQuery UI. And that brings you over to here. And I've also got it from here as well. But if you go out to jQueryui.com, you get this thing. And again, not a very nice looking site, really, to be honest with you. But let's say that I wanted to create myself, let's say, an accordion here. All right, well, there's an example of an accordion, right? And you say, well, how does that help me? Well, you go out to view source, and there is I thought there was a copy command, otherwise I'll just highlight all of it. 70 lines, copy it to the clipboard. Let's go out here, paste it in, and let's just save it to the desktop as accordion.html. All right, so there it is. Now I've done nothing but copy in some code, and here it is. And it's giving me nothing. Well, let's look at the reasons that might actually be happening. Okay? All right. So the first thing is, it's saying here, style sheet equals this. So we're not able to access that style sheet. But I'm still wondering why it would have a problem with this. So let's see. Because I've done this before where I've gone out and literally gone out to jQuery UI and copied something, put it into an HTML file, ran it, and immediately it starts working without me having to do anything. Well, this didn't appear to be one of those times, but let's just see. Okay, there you go. And it's working. The only thing is I don't have access right now, at least. I don't have access to the CSS files. And what I mean is, when you look right here, it's giving me this. So I doubt if this will work, but you never know. So let's try this. Oh no, I got two codejquery.coms in here. All right. No idea if that'll make it better or worse. And if it doesn't, I'm done with this anyway. So there you go. So I had to add the HTTPS. But the point is, what do I have? For doing virtually no work, I now have a working accordion. And one of the things that you get from this jqueryui.com is there's about 30 things in here where you can grab different stuff. And to my knowledge, each one of them has its own text as well. There's a spinner, for example. All right. And I could go through a bunch of these. I'm not going to go through anymore. All right. So with that said, let's just jump into the chapter. Why I keep doing that? So as always, here are our applied objectives. And the first page of our knowledge objectives. And there's a couple of additional knowledge objectives on the next page here. All right. And it says here a Google search for a jQuery plugin. And if you are looking for a plugin, now you'll notice this came to plugins.jquery.com, but it went right to the one you wanted. So if I knew I wanted to do something, so for instance, I mean, let's just keep it simple here. Let's just say that I knew that I wanted to put in a jQuery slider plugin. You know, I could go right there and it comes to HTTP. Well, there's jQuery UI slider. All right. And there'll be other ones, other things that you can find here as well. All right. So here's some websites. The one I already, of course, have given you. Google Code will come up with some. Of course, GitHub is getting more and more popular for people putting their different things of code out there. And SourceForge, which typically has a lot of downloads in there. And they even give you some, as it says, popular plugins for displaying images, slideshows and carousels. This one is really, in my opinion, makes it worthwhile right here, is if you go out to jqueryvalidation.org, and I guess it's not going to let me go there, but I did want to show you that anyway, so I'll just show it to you right now. Now, there's also about a 13-minute long, I think it was. Yep, just about video on this. But this is a way that you can perform validation on a form with you doing virtually. All right. Let's put it this way, not a whole heck of a lot of work yourself on it. All right. And if you go out here, what they will show you, I'm not going to play this, but they've got two examples out here, because I've used this one before. So here is one of them.
Show you how to find additional validation methods and to create your own. You'd see it has 4.
So when you look right there, what do we have? All right. So you set this thing up.
Fields, name, email, and it must be at least 2 characters long. valid URL.
And you can see what happens when you put something in that's invalid. Okay? All right, that's enough jumping around. So let's just go into the chapter. So as it says here, these are the general steps for using a plugin. First thing you should do is take a look at the documentation. Second, as it says, get the URL for the plugin files if they're available using a content delivery network, a CDN. If they're not available, download the files and save them into a folder of your own on the website. All right, next, in the head element, code the links to any CSS files. They're almost always going to have some external CSS you're going to have to bring in. At the end of the body element, code the code snippets for the required JavaScript files. If the download for a plugin includes an images folder, make sure it's set up correctly. Code the HTML and CSS for the page, and if necessary, write JavaScript and jQuery code that uses it. All right. 2 cautions that they give you right here. Number 1, make sure to include a script element for jQuery and do that before the plugin stuff. Second, as it says, some plugins don't work with the latest version of jQuery. As always, check the documentation. So again, jQuery first, then the plugin that you're going to put in. I'm not going to run through any of this stuff. I mean, I don't really think it pays to do this. This is a Lightbox plugin. All right. And again, there's ways that you can do a lot of this stuff today really without using much jQuery, depending on the software that you're using. You want more, you can go out to Lightbox. The idea with a Lightbox here is that typically when you might have a series of almost thumbnails, and you click on any one of the thumbnails and it comes up with a bigger one out here. And if you want, you click the X, it'll go and close. Okay. Here's another one for a carousel. Again, I think you all understand what a carousel is. And there's several ways that you can do this, okay? Here's the jQuery UI website that I alluded to earlier. Like I said, not much for aesthetics, but it's a nice working site. Notice it's broken up into 4 areas: widgets, themes, interactions, and effects. Interactions, widgets, and the other 2, of course, you can't see. You can download the entire thing, which means you'll get everything, or you can download it selectively, meaning that you can just put in the pieces, so to speak, that you want and download those. So to build a jQuery UI download, as it says, from the home page, click the download link in the nav bar or the custom download button. The nav bar, I believe, the download link will give you everything, and the custom will allow you to put in what you want to put in. Select or deselect what you want. To select the theme, as it says, use the drop-down list and click the download button when you're all done to give you everything that you want. The order in this stuff can matter. So as we talked about before, have jQuery first, all right, and make sure that your stuff is last. And check the documentation because it'll tell you if you have to put things in a certain order. I already showed you the accordion, all right, and I already showed you how to use this, so there's really nothing else that's there. Here it says the images folder and jQuery UI min CSS relationship that jQuery expects. All right, now you may or may not have noticed it, but again, I didn't add that stuff, and mine still worked. But to get the full effect, as always, read the documentation and see what you should download, the order in which you should download it, etc. All right. Typically, when you use this, not real much. In fact, if we go back, and I don't want to keep, as they say, keep beating the proverbial dead horse, but when we go back to here, and remember that earlier we looked at, what was it, the accordion. The actual code to make this run is right here. To my knowledge, that's, other than adding jQuery and adding the other stuff that you need up here, I don't think there's any more. This is all HTML. So this just basically says, hey, you've got something with an ID of accordion. Run the accordion on it. And there it is. It's the div with an ID of accordion. That's it. All right. And again, what I just already have shown you. All right, let's finish this up then. The HTML, the JavaScript, I already mentioned this. Notice what you can put on here, as they say, event mouse over, so when you mouse over it, all right, make it collapsible, etc. This is a neat one. As they say here, it's a tabs widget. You've only got a limited amount of real estate on any web page. So in this case, rather than making 3 different pages, you would use the same area, put a tab in there. You click on this one, you get the description, and this one, you get the author, etc. And they show how to set it up. But again, the brevity of the actual JavaScript that you put in is kind of what's neat about this. All right. Date pickers, we've all seen those before. That's it. All right, so as far as what's left, the stuff that's what's left in here, I'm going to show you this. And that is, so far, I believe I've done the first 16 chapters, which means I would have 17, 18, and 19 left, right? Now, these chapters, it's not that they're not important. Of course, they're all important. 17 is on how to work with functions, closures, and modules. All right, we'll talk about those. Then we'll go into how to work with AJAX, which is asynchronous JavaScript and XML. And we will end up with a short little introduction into Node.js. And I'm going to come back, hopefully, to do those 3 in just a few minutes.